Numbers I saw were per quarter.
Also jedes Vierteljahr steigern die ihre Gewinne um 27%. Wow.
Yeah. So should I jump in and explain the digital aspect of this hack? So basically in my essay, which I won't read, but you can see it on the Children's Health Defense website and on Chelsea Green's website.
We'll put it up on our website too.
Thank you so much. It's basically, in addition to everything else you've all identified, what's happening is a hack of humanity, okay? And I don't mean that in a woo-woo tinfoil hat way. It's literally a hack of the human genome and human data, as well as human spaces. So let me step back a minute to important organizations people don't really know about. There's something called the COVID-19 Response Project. Maybe you do know about it, but it's a group of really surprising corporations, including Amazon, Bloomberg, Microsoft, NASDAQ, Nintendo, and Zoom, as well as other tech companies that got together very early, I mean, at the very start of the pandemic, before we had any idea whether this was a 1-week crisis, a 2-week crisis, a year-long crisis. And their goal was to, explain COVID to the world. Well, these are the companies that are making money off of Amazon makes vast profits crushing crushing Main Street, and crushing small businesses, right? Nintendo makes vast profits when your child is home with no friends. Microsoft and Google, Google is where you sign in and where your data go here in the United States when you sign up for a CVS drugstore PCR test. So all of these companies, and NASDAQ, I mentioned the kind of legal insider trading, all of these companies have a vested interest in making lockdowns last forever. And NASDAQ has a vested interest in knowing how they'll be dialed up, how they'll be dialed down, where the numbers go, right? With the PCR tests, for instance. So these companies that are completely conflicted, and Microsoft has its relationship with Bill Gates. They are the ones who funneled millions of dollars into universities and news organizations. For instance, they funded the Blavatnik School at Oxford, that's my alma mater. The Blavatnik School isn't a health or medical school, it's governance. And so out of the Blavatnik School, you're getting all these studies showing that lockdown works or masks work and so on, like very corrupted studies. But this money is going to propagandize COVID. Like every time you turn on, your Google search bar, it'll have a little notification, COVID-19 in Connecticut, COVID-19, the latest COVID-19. That is I will tell you as a CEO of a digital tech company, it is extremely difficult to coordinate the messaging that you're getting digitally about the urgency and bigness and badness of COVID without a coordination across these tech giants, right? And even like kicking people like us off of Twitter, that takes coordination. Well, this entity has coordinated it. So now let me move ahead to the vaccine passports and the PCR tests. The PCR test is also a hack, right? China and Bill Gates and these digital tech companies are getting into the genomics space. And all of them have expressed their desire, and it's happening, to build gigantic human DNA databases. Why is that? Because it's incredibly valuable to know, what my future health problems will be like, so that targeted messaging to me and to my doctor about solutions to my problems will be in the hands of whoever holds that genetic data. All right. So that's why you have this testing, as well as the false positives, which you've covered well, to keep the numbers up, unverifiable data. And then moving ahead to the vaccine passports, when My list of people who use my digital site is the most valuable thing in my business model, right? When investors come to me and say, tell us, how Daily Cloud's going to make money, I show them how much data I've gathered from users. That's the value proposition. And we have very transparent privacy protections, right? But you don't have to know someone's full name to monetize their data. Just to see how users use a platform is incredibly valuable to sell to third parties. For instance, if users of my site look up credit card related bills, I can sell that information to credit card companies for advertising purposes. It's more valuable than oil. Many people in the digital space have said digital data is the new oil. Now, fast forward to vaccine passports. Every time I sit down in America, there's a nonsensical request in a restaurant for me to swipe my phone to get the menu. Why is that? It's not because there are germs on a piece of paper or they can't put the menu on a blackboard. It's so that my phone registers where I am, and AT&T and whoever buys it from AT&T knows that Naomi is at that restaurant. And then if other people are swiping their phones, then my whole network is fed into a system that shows, like all of you, I hate to tell you this, you're all already in and now we are in a platform that shows relationships between people. Okay, so if we all gather again to talk about fighting back against tyranny, the machines will know, and they then interpolate your credit score, your property that you own, anything online that you might have said, and now your medical data into one 360-degree ability to surveil you. And wherever your phone goes with your vaccine passport, because it will be digital, they won't give you a piece of paper which can't be tracked, you're constantly generating data that can be sold to advertisers, but also, your government or meta governments now can track exactly where you're going, who your networks are, what kind of calls you're making, to whom, what your internet search looks like, while you're at that basketball game or when you go home. And that is the end of privacy. And it's also the end of civil society, because if they want to arrest you, if they change what you're doing now from law to subversion, they now know exactly who's sitting around this table, right? Or if you go out and have a drink with your vaccine passports, they'll know exactly who is with you having a drink. So it's not about the virus. It's about a China-style social credit system. And I think that's everything. Well, I guess there's one more thing I want to say about the digital piece. Every time our children are in a classroom with other human children, every time we are worshiping in a church or synagogue or mosque with other human beings, every time we are going for a walk outside with our friends or having a party or sitting at a bar, tech companies are losing money because their business model, in addition to data, is eyeballs. Right? That's how they sell advertising. So when you're not on your device, they're losing money. So basically, digital tech companies we are their competitor. Human space is their competitor. Human contact is their competitor. Children playing in a playground is their competitor. Any joy human beings can have face-to-face or meaning undermines the profits of big tech companies and is the last frontier of what they can colonize as a financial model. So driving us all home, driving us to shop online, forbidding our children from going to school, creating distance learning platforms, which are also vastly lucrative for tech companies, making sure we can't gather to worship, making sure we can't go to a bar and that people can't fall in love, let alone have a protest. That's the last frontier. They're hacking what I call analog space, human space, because we are their last competitor. So they're breaking apart the human bonds, the human civilization and social contract, especially for the next generation, so that they won't have any more competitors and they get to mediate and profit from everything we do.
Okay. Well, just a quick response. They can't win. They cannot win. Also, sie hat uns erklärt, dass dieser PCR-Test genauso wie der digitalisierte Vaccine Passport letztlich nichts anderes ist als ein Hacking des, letztlich unserer Menschlichkeit, unserer DNA. Und sämtlicher Kommunikation, die wir haben, die menschliche DNA wird als Datenbasis benutzt. Und zwar wird der PCR-Test, der wird jetzt immer weitergeführt, weil man ja jedes Mal weitere Informationen bekommt. Deswegen geht's eben die ganze Zeit weiter, soll aber am Ende zu etwas führen, was China und Bill Gates, die da offenbar zusammenarbeiten, sind ja auch die beiden Herrscher sozusagen der WHO, sich zusammen ausgedacht haben, nämlich dazu, dass am Ende eine 360 Grad oder wir würden vielleicht sagen, eine vollkommene Transparenz, Durchsichtigkeit des Menschen erzeugt wird, sodass diejenigen in Big Tech, die an diesen Daten interessiert sind, die heute so wichtig sind oder so wertvoll sind, wie es damals das Erdöl gewesen ist, sodass diese Leute immer wissen, was wir wann, wo, mit wem machen. Also es geht nicht um die Gesundheit, es geht nicht um die Gesundheitsdaten. Das ist nur der Vorwand, der Pretext, um an diese ganzen Daten zu kommen. Das wird dann das Ende der Privatsphäre sein und das Ende der zivilen Gesellschaft sein.